The Donald Trump mental breakdown will be televised. Donald Trump thought it was a good idea today to televise himself at something that he called a press conference, where it was basically him having a mental breakdown for 90 minutes in front of cameras. Interesting approach. This as the latest Marquette poll, which is one of the top pollsters historically in the nation, came out with their latest poll that has Donald Trump down 8 points to Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. Speaking of Governor Tim Walz, a star is born. Governor Walz is winning the hearts and minds of Americans in blue states and red states and purple states with a message of love and joy and optimism and building a future together. It's hard to believe that announcement of Governor Walz was like 2 days ago from this live recording. It feels frankly like 2 years ago, but things are moving so rapidly that in single days, it feels like the amount of news that happens in a year can be packed into a 24-hour period. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's VP pick, Shady Vance, was caught stalking Vice President Kamala Harris and her airplane. So Shady Vance is taking the Trump airplane state to state wherever Vice President Kamala Harris goes. His entire plan is he speaks in front of parking lots because he can't draw any crowds at all. So there's like nobody there. And he follows her around like a stalker, like an abuser, like just a creepy strategy. And then he said that he was going to try to inspect her airplane. And then the campaign spokesperson for Donald Trump, Stephen Chung, then talked about maybe you should see, Shady Vance, what the airplane smells like maybe you need to see the airplane. This Trump campaign is in disarray. It's strange. We'll show you the receipts, some weird stuff there. And also, despite Donald Trump trying to cause panic in the markets by repeatedly posting stock market crash over and over again, like a lunatic who wants to cause harm to us would do, actually, it was a good day on the stock market. And other than the first day of the week, there's been good economic news that we'll discuss. And shame on Donald Trump and shame on these MAGA Republicans for trying to cause us pain. This is the Midas Touch podcast, where for 4 years, we've actually been talking about joy and optimism and bringing people together. So it is a joy that those messages have gone mainstream with incredible messengers like Governor Walz and Vice President Kamala Harris. Brett, Jordy, how are you doing, brothers?
Doing great. I can't believe this is our first show officially, our first brother show together since Tim Walz was named the running mate for Kamala Harris. And oh my gosh, the momentum. We thought it couldn't get any higher than it was. Then it just continues to increase exponentially. I think Walz has been such a refreshing change for our politics out there. And it's just been such a joy to see. And I think using that word is apt, considering that has been the messaging now that the Kamala Harris campaign has been bringing to the campaign trail as they get on these historic rallies in these major swing states, sometimes multiple a day, to these gigantic crowds of fired up people. And these aren't weirdo Trump rallies where everything looks depressed and they're playing QAnon music and Donald Trump is talking about how the world is all going to hell and how you're going to hell. These are rallies of optimism. These are rallies of the American spirit. And, I think the Democrats now are really bringing back patriotism, and not faux patriotism like Donald Trump and his lackeys, but real American patriotism. How are we going to make a more perfect union? And we're seeing now this message solidify. And we first had the message from Kamala Harris, which has resonated so well, the "we are not going back." Now we have the message from Tim Walz, which is "we are bringing back joy. We are bringing back freedom." And I think the combination of those two messages is incredibly powerful, especially when you contrast it with the utter weirdness of the Republican Party and their inability to beat the weird allegations. Like the more you call them weird, the weirder they get every day. It's just like a weird, creepy, just disgusting. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you don't have to be this weird, but I'm excited to get into it all. But first, we got to check in with Jordy.
What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? Man, I'm just going to echo your sentiments. I cannot believe it was only 2 days ago at the time of this recording that Walz was chosen. I mean, it feels like weeks and months ago, but in a really good way. And to your point exactly, Brett, it really feels like the momentum has shifted in such a big way where people, they're no longer doom scrolling, as the kids like to say when they're on their social media platforms. They are hope scrolling because the momentum is in that favor. Joy, hope, love. These are things that will continue to win out over the absurdity that has become the weirdo Republican Party. Ben.
So we talked about the new national poll from Marquette University. It's an A+ poll, large sample size in the three-way race with Kamala Harris, Trump, and JFK Jr., Vice President
RFK
Kamala
Jr.
Oh, RFK. RFK. Well, I'm going to be showing some of the QAnon memes in a second. Up 8 in that poll. You take a look at the Cook Political Report, states that previously leaned Republican, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, are now toss-ups, and we're seeing polls there favoring Vice President Kamala Harris. She's also taking leads in the other battleground states that she needs to win the election. Speaking of why I had JFK on my mind, Donald Trump I got ahead of myself there because Donald Trump spending the entire morning making QAnon posts and making horrific racist posts. So when I woke up, I said, is this real? And then I saw that he posted like 50 times, 27 posts within 1 hour. And as I've said before, if somebody that you know posts 27 times in an hour about any topic at all, you would have to declare a serious doubt about that person's psychiatric state. But then when you take a look at what Donald Trump's been posting, put it up right there. Horrific racist memes of Vice President Kamala Harris where her face is like darkened and is like 2 colors and she's put her head is superimposed on a beetle and it says, "Are you buying our bullshit?" You have Donald Trump with a meme of Governor Walz. Donald Trump, Mr. Bone Spurs himself, calling Governor Walz stolen valor. Governor Walz, who served with distinction in our military for 24 years. Donald Trump, who said his personal Vietnam was avoiding STDs. Donald Trump, who called our military vets suckers and losers, is posting a meme, stolen valor here. Put those back up right there. Then Donald Trump posting, put the full armor of God on next to the cross as he's posting these racist memes. Donald Trump making this weird AI image. We are living in a pro-criminal atmosphere. It will end on November 5th. Yeah, you're the pro-criminal atmosphere. Then he does the QAnon ones right here. Where we go one, we go all. Take a look at the bottom right one as you're watching that. Where we go one, we go all is what Donald Trump is posting. Literally a death cult slogan that believes that JFK Jr. is still alive. That's what Donald Trump's been posting today. And that the storm is coming, which they believe is Donald Trump will hold public executions on Capitol Hill and kill Democrats. Donald Trump is posting their slogans. Also, weird photos of himself dressed as a cowboy in AI. You tell him I'm coming and the American people are coming with me. And you see behind that imagery is QAnon imagery as well. When they say the storm is coming, that's the storm behind him, which is the imagery of him killing Democrats on Capitol Hill. Then you have racist images where he posts Vice President Kamala Harris's photo next to a group of migrants. And then it says fentanyl, HIV, polio, MS-13, hepatitis. And he posts 27 others like that. So then he announces that by the way, his campaign spokesperson, Stephen Chung, is posting all day, Kamabla. He goes, Kamabla, 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 Kamabla. Then he does a Venn diagram. Then a reporter asks him, like, what does that mean? And he goes, Kamabla. And they go, but does it have meaning? Kamala, Kamala, Kamala.
Can I just say, this is their only campaign strategy right now. Like, they don't have a Donald Trump is not campaigning. They've pulled him entirely off the campaign trail for this impromptu press conference, if you want to call it that. I'd call it a televised mental breakdown on live television. But their only strategy right now appears to be calling Kamala Harris Kamala and saying she's not black. Like, I can't quite fathom this from a political standpoint whatsoever. And Donald Trump continues to just fall in the polls like steeply. And this is a little beside the point, but that's not how Venn diagrams work. Comma and blah, comma. That's not how Venn diagrams work. That's besides the point, but I'll let you get back to that.
But so look, it's weird though, right? It's weird, right? That he's not campaigning 90 days out, of the election at this point. He's not campaigning, and he's not campaigning alongside Vance. And that Vance is just, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but following Kamala around. Like, it's
Donald Trump
weird.
has one event scheduled all week long, and it's in Montana, a state that he's all but guaranteed to win, a very red state. That's not what you do if you want to win an election. So it's very peculiar.
But I mean, it's still very peculiar that he's likely going to win that state. Like, the fact that I have a great deal of confidence that Vice President Kamala Harris is going to win this election, but the mere fact that there are people living in states who see Donald Trump's main focus of the campaign is calling Vice President Kamala Harris Asian or Indian and not black, and his campaign spokesperson doing Venn diagrams on the left circle saying comma, on the right one saying blah, and then in the middle, Kamala, and then saying, oh yeah, that's what I want. Let's get, this is the team.
Once again, they're not beating the weird allegations. That's for sure.
But the fact that even exists anywhere, and then, like on Fox, after Donald Trump's unhinged press conference, you had people like Jesse Waters go, that was perfect. That was a flawless press conference. So why don't I show you this first? God. Let me show you Jesse Waters calling it a flawless press conference. Then I'll show you what in their world they believe is flawlessly done. First, Jesse Waters on Fox. Let's play this clip.
This was a flawless press conference.
Okay, was it flawless? Let's test that theory, shall we? Donald Trump is asked how Vice President Kamala Harris decided to turn black, and here's Donald Trump's response. Play this clip.
Mr. President, Kamala Harris's father is Jamaican American, and she went to a historically black college. How is she only recently deciding to be black?
Well, you'll have to ask her that question because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it. So you'll have to ask her, and I very much appreciate that question, but you'll have to ask her. But I've known her for a long time. I actually contributed to her campaign a long time ago because I was a developer. I contributed to lots of campaigns of Democrats, Republicans, and some were liberal and some were conservative. But you'll have to ask her about that. But to me, it doesn't matter. But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both. To me, it doesn't matter.
He's saying because she is biracial, that it is disrespectful to both? Because she's biracial. I mean, that alone should be disqualifying. But on Fox, on the propaganda network, they say that is flawless right there. Okay. Well, then Donald Trump was asked about his ear and the injury that he had. And let's take a look at Donald Trump's very peculiar response there. Let's play the clip.
Pretty much recovered, yeah. I'm a fast healer. It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered.
Do you have any hearing damage from it?
No, it didn't hit that. I got very lucky. It just hit the lobe, as they call it.
Is there a scar on your ear?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. On top.
All right, I think that speaks for itself, that response. Draw your own conclusions right there. One of the, I think, the best questions that was asked, and our editor-in-chief at Midas Touch News, Ron Filipkowski, has been saying this is the one question he wanted to hear asked, where Donald Trump was asked how he will be voting on Florida's abortion referendum, where Florida is one of these states that has taken away women's reproductive rights. And there is on the ballot, Florida's abortion referendum, whether or not women's reproductive rights will be restored or not, and what the situation is. So Trump is asked about it. Number one, Trump it's clear he has no clue what the referendum actually is, number one. And then number two, he says the following about it. Let's play this clip.
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum?
On what?
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum this November?
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now.
Just like the press conference about his infrastructure plan, just like the press conference on his healthcare plan, just like the press conference where he said he was going to explain the suspicious nature about how Melania came into the United States. Remember that's like one of his go-to lines. I'm going to hold the press conference very quickly. There are some obvious tricks, and it's just this shtick is so stale right now. And as we've been actually saying for years, but finally others I think are picking it up a little bit, his moves are so basic and obvious. And so that's one of his moves, because he realizes that corporate media often drops it. When he goes, I'll hold the press conference about it, they accept that. Okay. Every day asking, hey, Donald, when's that press conference going to be where you're going to very strongly tell us what you're going to do on the abortion referendum? Tell us that. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, said, Trump is asked a simple question today. Are you voting for the amendment to change Florida's 6-week abortion ban to 15 weeks? He refused to answer that. So my question to pro-life Republicans is this. Why wouldn't Trump answer that question? I thought you said abortion is murder. So where are you going to vote on that? And Trump, do you even know what the referendum actually calls for? I think he does not. Then Donald Trump spends the time talking about how his insurrection crowd was bigger than the crowds that MLK drew. He wants to let you all know that not a lot of people are talking about how the insurrection crowd bigger than MLK's crowd. Let's play the clip.
Into the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000 and he had 1 million people.
Let me check in with Fox. Hey, Jesse Waters, how would you describe what we've watched so far? What do you think about it? Here, play the clip.
This was a flawless press conference.
Oh, I have different words. I mean, F for failure. M for mental breakdown. I would not say that this is the furthest from flawless. This was flaw-filled. You couldn't fill more flaws into a single press conference than whatever it is that I am showing you all right now. So then Trump says, look, I don't think I need black voters anymore. I don't think I need black women voters. You know why? Because the white men are strongly supporting me. I've got my white men, he says. Here, play this clip.
A big part of the strategy for your campaign before Harris became the nominee was appealing to black voters. That was something you were really going after. In polls, we really see Harris gaining ground with that group. And I'm wondering how you are going to go after black voters now that she's the nominee and really winning them over.
Well, it changes around a little bit. I'm getting other voters. Perhaps, I was doing very well with black voters, and I still am. I seem to be doing very well with black males. This is according to polls, as you know. It's possible that I won't do as well with black women, but I do seem to be doing very well with other segments, extremely well with Hispanic. Jewish voters way up. White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up.
I mean, the corporate media should be asking, why isn't he stepping down? Now, I don't want him to step down because I would like to see this meltdown continue every single day until he loses a ton of support, and Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz and the pro-democracy movement restores normalcy in this country. But you would think that after you watch a display like that, that is not someone who should be near the nuclear codes. Pull up his posts from this morning as well. You're going to trust the nuclear codes with someone who's doing this? I mean, petulant weirdo third graders. No offense to petulant weirdo third graders, because this is some next level stuff right here. But that's what it would be like giving. Think about the worst behaved third grader and being like, you know what? I'm going to give you the nuclear arsenal. That's what the MAGA Republicans are doing. So then Trump's asked, hey, man, you know, you're not doing campaign events like Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz. They're out in like every swing state, big crowds, but you're here. And Donald Trump goes, stupid question. Here, play this clip.
Okay.
Mr. President, you have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now. Tomorrow you'll be in Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly at a time where there is enthusiasm on the other side. Why haven't you been campaigning this week?
Because I'm leading by a lot, and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country, because our country's never been in this danger before, both economically and from an outside perspective. Russia doesn't respect us anymore. China doesn't respect us anymore. North Korea, Kim Jong-un liked me a lot. He doesn't like this group. We are in great danger. We're in great danger of being in World War III. That could happen. No, after their convention, yeah. And I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected. Not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana, or I'm going to different places to help people. And I don't have to go there because I'm leading those states, as you know, by 35, 40, 50 points. I'm leading by record numbers. I'm going because I want to help senators and congressmen get elected. Congressmen and women get elected. Yes, please.
The Democratic National Convention is in 2 weeks. By the way, that wasn't the weirdest thing that he said in that, filled with lies. Does he think the Democratic National Convention is going on? Does he think Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz speeches is the Democratic National Convention? This is someone who is cognitively impaired. This is someone who is deeply disturbed. This is someone who is dangerous. Now compare that to the photo that Governor Walz just took right there. Smiles, joy, hope, optimism. What I want to talk about here at the Midas Touch Network. I want to share with you that contrast, and we're going to do that on this episode. Want to remind everybody about our Patreon, patreon.com/Midas Touch. We don't have outside investors here at the Midas Touch Network, so one of the ways for you to help build this independent media platform is signing up at patreon.com/Midas Touch. We had one scheduling change. We were going to do our Zoom meeting this weekend with our members, but we're going to be moving that. We had a scheduling conflict. We apologize for that. It's going to be Monday after the live show at 9:15 p.m. Eastern, 6:15 Pacific. I apologize for that in advance, but we're moving it to Monday, 9:15 Pacific Eastern, 6:15 Pacific. We'll be right back after our first quick break of the show. AI might be the most important computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up, folks. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power naturally. So how do you compete without the costs spiraling out of control? Good question. It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less like Uber 8x8 and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Midas. Go to oracle.com/MEIDAS. That's oracle.com/Midas. Go to oracle.com/Midas and tell them the Midas Touch brothers say hello.
Support for today's episode comes from Hexclad. Revolutionize your cooking experience with Hexclad cookware, where innovation meets culinary excellence. Hexclad cookware is designed to simplify your time in the kitchen while adding a touch of elegance to every meal. Hexclad has changed the cookware industry with an all-in-one hybrid pan that gives you the convenience and cleanup of nonstick, the versatility of your grandma's cast iron, and the durability to last a lifetime. Seriously, Hexclad cookware has a lifetime warranty. Even the great Gordon Ramsay, known to many as a bit of a critic, only trusts Hexclad pots and pans in both his home and all of his Michelin star restaurants. If it's good enough for Gordon, we think that you'll be satisfied too. And for a limited time, Hexclad is giving our listeners 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just go to hexclad.com/Midas. Support our show and check them out at hexclad.com/Midas. MEIDAS. I've been using Hexclad in my kitchen, and let me tell you, it's an absolute game changer. Compared to my old pots and pans, Hexclad is on a whole different level. They look fantastic, perform incredibly well, and cleanup is a breeze. The 6-piece set is the perfect starter bundle, featuring 3 of their most popular pans with accompanying lids. Whether I'm searing steaks or making delicious sauces, Hexclad delivers exceptional performance on any stovetop. My kitchen will never be the same. No more sticking, burning, or uneven cooking. Hexclad's patented laser-etched hexagonal steel ridges boost your searing power and truly check every box. They're metal utensil safe, dishwasher safe, and oven safe up to 500 degrees. They're induction ready and even have a stay cool handle so you could saute with ease. Hexclad's elegant design and durable construction make it the perfect choice for entertaining all summer long. Impress your guests with beautifully prepared dishes that look as good as they taste. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just head to hexclad.com/Midas. Support our show and check them out. Once again, that's hexclad.com/Midas. MEIDAS. Bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware. Elevate your cooking game to new heights with Hexclad.
Let's go. Wonderful ad reads, brothers. Look, everybody knows the drill. The links are in the description of the YouTube and the audio. Shout out Oracle. Definitely click that link. Check that out. Shout out Hexclad. They're amazing. And if it's trusted by Gordon Ramsay, like you said, Brett, I mean, you love it. I know that's for sure.
I think they should change the copy to "Trusted by Brett Mycelis."
I agree.
I made quite the penne al vodka in my Hexclad the other night, and I gotta say, it's up there with the best.
Heck yeah.
Best.
So a friend of mine who doesn't watch politics at all and frankly hates politics and doesn't follow any of this, I got a random text from that friend, and he goes to me, "Hey, Ben, you know what's funny? So much of campaigning is so effing dark and ominous and angry and scary. It's why I don't follow politics. However, I've been watching this Governor Walz guy and Vice President Kamala Harris. Look, if they can legitimately inject some of the joy he was talking about, I wonder if people just like me will be recognizing how powerful that can be. I've never seen anything like this before. Ben, the normal people in America don't want to be dreading shit constantly. A lot of people like me who are in the middle are going to vote for genuine optimism." That really stuck with me, that message. So I asked if I can share it, and he said, "Yeah, I can." But there is this importance of, one, we have to be realistic, right? We have to recognize the threats to our democracy. We have to be strategic about solving problems. But so much of what MAGA and Trump and Fox and corporate media have done was try to steal, in some cases they've been successful, take away our joy and make us feel fear and cause divisions and be sad all the time. You know, for the last 4 years here at the Midas Touch Network, we've been messaging happiness and joy and normalcy, frankly, because we never really liked the politics of personality. What we liked were values and principles, most fundamentally focused on normalcy and positivity and optimism while recognizing the threats that were posed. So it is incredible to see that message being taken mainstream and people focusing on the normalcy and the joy and what can we accomplish together versus what culture war can divide us against each other so that billionaires and decamillionaires can exploit us in these times of division. Let me show you what democracy looks like. These are the chants in a packed crowd in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, with a crowd of fired up, positive, energetic people there to see Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Governor Walz. Let's play the clip.
Democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. That's right, O'Clair.
I find my days doing this coverage feeling layers and levels of disgust when I have to do Donald Trump's events and covering those and watching that. And so then I report on the Harris-Walz events and I go from the disgust of the Trump events to like joy and tears of happiness as I watch that. And so my emotions on a daily basis go like, oh, I'm happy. I'm so happy. I'm crying. To I'm so distressed at this. I'm crying for the opposite. So it's a balance every day.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I've been watching these events, and honestly, I've been getting the chills watching these events. It really has brought back a feeling in me about politics, which is probably, you know, one of the things that interested me in politics even before we started Midas Touch, like just on a general personal level, not on any sort of professional level. But I remember being in college and the rise of Barack Obama and the messaging of hope and how that resonated and how everybody felt united at a cause of we're moving into the future. And then on the other hand, I remember that feeling when Donald Trump won the election, that feeling of doom and gloom, which has really persisted for so long right now. And what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have done is they have brought back that hope. And dare I say, they have brought back that Obama level of optimism and also that level of enthusiasm that we have not seen in so long. I think at this point, what a lot of people on the pro-democracy side of things are seeing in Donald Trump is weakness. One of the first times we've been saying he's weak, but Kamala Harris and Tim Walz has exposed him as a weakling. And I think now the pro-democracy community sees that now it's time to pounce and end this MAGA movement once and for all. And I know in this show, we have shown for so long now the vibe of the Trump events, not only what Donald Trump is saying himself, but the people at the events, the things they are saying, their hopes and dreams, which are often just extremely negative. They're about tearing others down. They're about pulling our country apart. They're about division. They're wearing crazy, weird outfits. It's just like, honestly, kind of like a freak show at a lot of these events. You look at these Kamala Harris events, you see normal people, you see diversity, you see happiness, you see optimism, you see people who want to move the country forward. And on that note, they also want to let everybody live and be their best selves. Like it's become a thing where, you know, right wingers used to say, oh, we're conservative, we don't want government in our lives. But they've become, and in many ways they always were, but more than ever, they become a party that is completely in every single aspect of your lives. And that's what the Democrats have been able to now fight against. They've been able to fight against, as Tim Walz was saying at this rally, mind your damn business. Let people live. Let people do what they want to do. Let me play this clip of Tim Walz from the rally, and then Jordy, I want to toss it to you to get your thoughts.
Now, look, we're pretty neighborly with Wisconsin. We get our friendly battles, but in Minnesota, just like in Wisconsin, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choices for ourselves, because we know there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business. I don't need you telling me about our health care. I don't need you telling us who we love. And I sure the hell don't need you telling us what books we're going to read.
Pitch perfect messaging. Jordy, what's your thoughts on Walz?
Well, pitch perfect. Can I just say this? I just love that line. Mind your own damn business. I know the Midas Mighty love that line too. And I think we cooked up something a little special based on that line, didn't we? Oh, there we go. The new mind your own damn business. I mean, I love that because it's reclaiming the flag. It's just an amazing line by Walz. It's awesome. Love that shirt. It's store.midastouch.com. Get that right now before they sell out. These are going fast, so definitely check it out. And then Brett, at a larger picture here, and Ben, watching Walz speak, he's like the Mr. Rogers of the Midwest. That's my thing for him. He's the Mr. Rogers of the Midwest. Tim Walz, he's got that it factor. Just look at like the fundraising numbers. $36 million to the Harris campaign in the 24 hours after Walz was announced. That's crazy. And look, in a world of phonies and pretenders, i.e. J.D. Vance, Tim Walz is like a breath of fresh air for people. The Harris-Walz ticket is strong, and it's only going to keep getting stronger the more that people get to see these two together campaigning, which is quite literally the opposite of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, where the more people see and hear from those weirdos, the less they're liked. I feel the momentum. I know you guys feel the momentum. The Midas Mighty feels the momentum. This is really exciting.
Here's the thing about Tim Walz, and this is something that I think Josh Shapiro nailed so well, especially when he was speaking. And Josh Shapiro has been, absolutely incredible. And when he spoke at the rally, one of the things that he's called J.D. Vance out on is that this guy doesn't even know who he is. This guy's a fake. And Tim Walz, honestly, is the guy who J.D. Vance pretends to be. He's the guy who Trump pretends to be fighting for. But Tim Walz is actually those things. And so those attacks when you're a fraud really fall flat when you have a guy who goes ice fishing and is a hunter and is at the state fair and is doing great things for the people. Like he truly is everything that they pretend to be all the time. And the policies that he has passed as well are things that are universally beloved, like universal free meals for kids in school. You're going to hate on that. I mean, you've seen the pictures of the kids after they got that signed into law. Stronger labor protections, 100% clean energy by 2040, protecting reproductive rights, $1 billion for housing, auto voter registration. He banned book bans in his state. He's against the book bans. He expanded the child tax credit. These are all things that people like. And also Minnesota has a incredible business climate. It's one of the top business states in the country. So he really brings together a lot of ideas that are universally beloved across the country.
Look, he was the top gun at the congressional trap shoot. So he's able to say, you're going to lecture me on guns? He goes, I love the Second Amendment. I'm the top gun at the trap shoot. But we need to have common sense gun reform. I can love my guns, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to put that above the lives of children. I'm still going to support common sense gun reform. I'm not going to engage in this weird fetishization, cosplay, WWE weirdo-ness regarding AR-15s and weapons of war. I can enjoy my guns, but also care about the people and understand you need universal background checks as well as other common sense gun reform to protect our people and not be worried that when we send our kids to school, they're going to end up in a school shooting. Here's Governor Walz talking about being the top gun at the trap shoot during the speech. Play this clip.
And just like Wisconsin, over in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. And just so you know, when I was in Congress, I was the top gun at the trap shoot 3 years in a row. I can outshoot them, too. I can outshoot these guys.
What I love about these speeches, too, is when you hear the crowd chanting USA, USA, when we talk about who the real patriots are, as these MAGAs try to steal that word patriots, as we talk about the flag and the Constitution and the values and ideals that they represent. These symbols that were taken and stolen by MAGA to divide, to reclaim those symbols. It's one of the reasons when I watch these speeches, I get so emotional, because it is so important to reclaim those things, to reclaim the symbols of our democracy. Let me share this moment with you. When Vice President Kamala Harris was up there and the crowd started chanting, "Lock Donald Trump up," let me just show you how she responded. I think one of the moments that really stood out to me from her speech. Let's play this clip.
I know Donald Trump's tight. I know it's tight. In fact, I've been dealing with people like him my whole career. For example, as Attorney General of California, well, hold on, you know what? The courts are going to handle that part of it. What we're going to do is beat him in November.
By the way, the line to get into these events stretches like 1.5 miles away. These are real big crowd sizes where they don't exaggerate the numbers, unlike Donald Trump, who claims there was 107,000 and a bajillion people here, and Donald Trump, who brags that there were and lies about it and says that more people were at the insurrection watching him stir them up to destroy our democracy than were there for MLK. And by the way, the estate of MLK said, just get his name out of your mouth. Like, what are you doing? But to see these crowds and the energy and the positivity being spread, I mean, it truly is a dream come true for our democracy to see this and talk about these values and ideals. I want to talk more about that. I want to remind everybody about our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors. So one of the ways you can help us build this pro-democracy platform is patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Also, store.MeidasTouch.com. The store at MeidasTouch is setting records. We've been selling out of stuff. So make sure you check it out. 100% union made, 100% made in the USA. Our newest gear was just released today. You heard Jordy talk about it before. The Kamala gear is crushing it. The childless cat lady shirts. Check it out, store.MeidasTouch.com. And of course, our newest edition, the Mind Your Own Damn Business shirts featuring the Governor Walz quote. We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show. So here's a pretty cool and positive story I want to share. So I got my uncle MD hearing aids, and I saw him recently over the past weekend, and he told me how much better his hearing has been. This podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing is an FDA-registered, rechargeable hearing aid that costs a fraction of what typical hearing aids cost. MD Hearing's Neo model costs over 90% less than clinical hearing aids. The Neo fits inside your ear, so no one will even know what's there. Plus, MD Hearing just launched the Neo XS, MD Hearing's smallest hearing aid ever. MD Hearing recently cut their price in half. That means you can get high-quality, rechargeable digital hearing aids for only $297 a pair. MD Hearing was founded by an ENT surgeon who saw how many of his patients needed hearing aids but couldn't afford them. He made it his mission to develop a quality hearing aid that anyone could afford. I have been raving to everyone about MD hearing aids for a while now. MD Hearing is just as good as premium quality hearing aids. $297 for a pair of hearing aids this good is crazy. I can't believe I was overpaying so much for hearing aids, and I can't believe how much my uncle loves MD hearing aids. Edward S. calls MD Hearing, quote, the best hearing aid I have used at any price. It's like exactly what my uncle said. MD Hearing has sold over 1.5 million hearing aids, and they offer a 45-day risk-free trial with a 100% money-back guarantee, so you can buy with confidence. Get the hearing you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com and use promo code MIDAS, MEIDAS, to get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Plus, they are adding a free extra charging case, a $100 value just for our listeners of the show. That's shopmdhearing.com. Use our promo code MIDAS and get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Pretty good.
Hey everyone, I want to share something that's really made a difference for me when it comes to enjoying a night out with friends. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on hitting the gym, enjoying a brunch, or just getting some important work done without worry. I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical of ZBiotics at first, but then while hanging out with my friends at our favorite bar downtown, I decided to give it a try, and let me tell you, it really works. The first time I tried pre-alcohol was during a friend's wedding weekend. I had my first drink of the night, a delicious old-fashioned, by the way, right after taking ZBiotics. The next morning, I was up early, feeling great, and ready to join the rest of the wedding party for breakfast and activities. It was a total game changer. With vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions, there's so much going on this summer. Get the most out of your plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/Midas to get 15% off your first order when you use Midas at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Midas, MEIDAS, and use the code Midas at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Let's go. Again, links are in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. MD hearing aids are just absolutely incredible. You guys may be surprised, maybe not surprised how many emails I get about Midas Mighty folks who actually love the MD hearing aids and have hit me up about it. So definitely check that out. They're incredible. Like Ben said, our uncle friggin' loves them. And then ZBiotics, just double down on the network. So let's show them some love. They really are a fantastic product. And I'll definitely be drinking some ZBiotics in a few weeks when I head to this conference that I'm going to, brother, for the advertising. Going to be interesting.
Make sure.
I love it. Vice President Kamala Harris in Wisconsin and Michigan this week. Here she is in Wisconsin in Eau Claire, talking about how, look, what are we even talking about? Donald Trump saying he wants to terminate the Constitution. Someone who's saying that shouldn't be behind the seal of the presidency. Sounds like a basic concept. The crowd agrees. Play the clip.
Think about the fact that last month, the United States Supreme Court basically told the former president, who has been convicted of fraud, that going forward, he will be immune no matter what he does in the White House. Think about what that means and the changed circumstances since 16/6/20 when you think about what that court decision means. Donald Trump has openly vowed if reelected, he will be a dictator on day one. That he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. That he would round up peaceful protesters and throw them out of our country. And even, quote, terminate the United States Constitution. So let us be clear. Let us be clear. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again have a chance to stand behind the seal of the President of the United States.
She's just so incredible. I mean, watching those speeches, I could watch that 50 times and I still get chills each and every time I watch that, feeling that history is being made before our very eyes. Let's go to Michigan, where Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz spoke as well before a packed crowd. And
we show the crowd first because this is just, it's stunning. Kamala Harris coming in on Air Force Two with Tim Walz. I mean, that is one way to make an entrance. That crowd was loud.
Talking about who was loud and proud, Sean Fain, president of the United Auto Workers, just spitting facts. Let's play this clip.
Every time Donald Trump gets a chance, he trashes our union and he trashes the working class. He comes to Michigan. He talks about he's going to bring back the auto industry. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump doesn't know shit about the auto industry.
That's so good. Then you have Governor Walz. This was the line that sticks with me the most about joy and these MAGAs and Trump trying to take away our joy. Here, play this clip.
This is what we know. All the things that make me mad about those other guys and all the things they do wrong, the one thing that I will not forgive them for is they try to steal the joy from this country. They try and steal the joy. But you know what? You know what? Our next president brings the joy. She emanates the joy.
So contrast that, though, with Shady Vance. We talked about this at the top of the show. His whole plan is they have no campaign schedule. He just follows Vice President Kamala Harris around from state to state. He speaks in like a small parking lot. There's no crowds for Shady Vance. And then when he's on the tarmac with Vice President Kamala Harris, like an abuser, like a stalker, he is a stalker. He goes and tries to get on her airplane. He wants to inspect it while the campaign manager or the campaign spokesperson, rather, Stephen Chung for the Trump campaign, tells him to go on the plane and smell it to see if the plane smells bad. That's what Trump's campaign spokesperson saying to Trump's VP pick, to go on the plane and see if it smells. The smell alone on that plane must be crazy. And then Shady Vance tries to go on the plane to smell it. I mean,
By the way, the second Kamala Harris, the SUV showed up with Secret Service. You know what Shady Vance did, or JV Vance did, as Kamala Harris called him, junior varsity the other day? He ran away. He literally ran away from the scene the second those SUVs arrived.
Here's the thing, too. It's not like it was a coincidence that they were at the same place at the same time, because Vance has been stalking her. He's been going to the locations right after where Kamala's visiting. And so
that's kind of the point, yeah.
But I'm just saying, like it makes it so, I get it, but it makes it so much weirder that that's the whole story. Correct. However, it makes it that much weirder if you could just emphasize that point and not make fun of me like the way you two are trying to make fun of me right now, that he knew that she was going to be at that airport at that same time. And it was just such a weird thing to do.
Look, I totally agree with Jordy. Let me show you from the I agree with you, from the press conference that Shady Vance gave. Shady Vance is given the most layup of a question. There was no one in attendance at this event. They just say, basically, what makes you happy? That was the question. Like, what makes you smile? What makes you happy? Now, the easiest answer is my family, my kids, my love of the country, the couch, you know, whatever it is. I mean, it is the softball of all softballs. But Shady Vance is such an awkward weirdo who doesn't even know who he himself is, that he can't handle the most basic question of what makes you happy? What makes you happy? Here, play the clip.
A little bit different here. You've been criticized as being a little too serious, maybe angry sometimes. What makes you smile? What makes you happy?
Well, I smile at a lot of things, including bogus questions from the media, man. I mean, look, I think if you watch a full speech that I give, I actually I'm having a good time out here and I'm enjoying this. But look, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. And right now I am angry.
Because he's playing a part. The thing, and he's not good at playing the part. This is WWE cosplay fascism. Look, J.D. Vance is somebody who grew up and said he was gay. And then he said that his grandma told him you can't be gay. So then he became anti-gay. And so then he said, okay, what's my new personality? Then he was anti-Trump hillbilly. And he wrote a book, Hillbilly Elegy, where he trashes Appalachia, where he's not even from. And he uses all of the stereotypes about people who live in Appalachia, and he just mocks them and pretends that he was in Appalachia, which he wasn't. He grew up in the suburbs by Cincinnati. And then after he made his money being the anti-Trumper fake hillbilly, and Netflix made a movie about it, okay, he got that. Then he became the Trumper, the ultra MAGA, and so now he's playing this part. So he's changed his identity. So when he's like, Vice President Kamala Harris is a chameleon because she's biracial, what do you mean? What does it even mean? You're actually the chameleon. Your name's not even J.D. Vance. The guy's had multiple names. He's changed his identity 4 times. He's changed his name 3 times, and he's just playing a part. So when he gets asked the question about what makes you happy, he doesn't even know what makes him JD because he's not even JD. So when you see the contrast there, as I've always said, as we've always said, this is beyond politics. This is about basic humanity, and the American people can see authenticity in Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz, and they can see whatever the heck that was. But Brett, let's talk about it. Let's drill down a little bit on the economy. Let's drill down a little bit about Governor Walz's policies that I think are important. I think it's important. I mean, one of the things that I think young people are fired up about is dealing with climate change.
Yeah, and people actually having a plan for the future and not whatever Donald Trump and JV Vance are pushing about windmills giving you cancer by the sound and whales wash, all just the crazy stuff that they're pushing. And so, when Tim Walz was named the running mate for Kamala Harris, I certainly had to do research on the guy. It's not like I know everybody and their history and their background. So one of the first things I did, because as people listening to the show know, climate's become a big focus on the show, and we want to try to be bringing more climate news, because I think with all the kind of Trump stories and all the election back and forth, we don't get to hear enough about climate stories. And it's kind of one of the most important things because it's about the survival of the world. No big deal. So I think it's important that we focus on climate a little bit. So I wanted to figure out, aside from all the other stuff that we've heard about Tim Walz, what's Tim Walz's record on the climate? And so I found a New York Times article about Tim Walz's climate record. And I wanted to go over some of the information that I read in there so that all of our listeners know about this a little bit, because it's important stuff. So it said that over the course of his 2 terms in office, Governor Walz quietly emerged as one of the nation's most forceful advocates for tackling climate change. Back in St. Paul, Walz has been increasingly focused on the threats posed by climate change to his state, enacting ambitious laws to slash the use of fossil fuels that are dangerously heating the planet. Most notably, in 2023, he signed a law requiring Minnesota to get all of its electricity from wind, solar, and other carbon-free sources by 2040, eliminating the climate warming pollution generated by coal and gas-fired power plants. That law came in the midst of a legislative session in which Minnesota Democrats, working with Walz, pushed through nearly 40 other climate initiatives, including tax rebates for electric vehicles, expanded access to EV charging stations. In June, he signed a law to streamline the permitting of renewable energy projects. Under that law, Minnesota would transition to clean energy sources even faster than California. And that obviously says a lot, because California has long been the vanguard of state climate action. The Minnesota law is also more ambitious than even the law that President Biden tried to pass in the 2022 climate law. And climate activists are actually seeing the model that Walz put out as a model for the entire country. And so you can imagine if Walz gets into the White House, the same way Vice President Harris had a major imprint on legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act, that Tim Walz could have a major impact on climate legislation in the future and help continue to bring America into the future. And if Harris and Walz win, the New York Times says that he would have the most substantive record on climate of any incoming president or vice president since Al Gore. And even though Gore obviously is a major climate advocate and had been before he became vice president, that never quite translated into the action like it has with Tim Walz. And one of the ways that Tim Walz, I think, is able to pass all these policies and do all this stuff is his messaging is really good. He knows how to speak to voters in the heartland of the country. He knows how to appeal to rural voters and how to message this correctly, because these are good things for people. These are good things for people. And there has been so much messaging that has been pushed by big oil and fossil fuel companies and Republicans and everybody else to try to dissuade people from moving into the future. And so this is a quote from Tim Walz that I thought was good to read as well while we're talking about his record. He said, "Climate change is an existential threat that impacts all Minnesotans and our ability to thrive. Communities, farms, and industry face more frequent extreme weather events that threaten the infrastructure we rely on to connect all parts of our state. By increasing risk from vector-borne diseases and extreme weather, especially for vulnerable populations and individuals with pre-existing conditions, climate change threatens Minnesotans' health and well-being." So there you have Governor Tim Walz's stance on climate, an incredibly future-forward policy on climate that I think people are craving in the country. And Ben, like you said, especially Gen Z voters in this country who view climate as one of their top issues, and rightfully so. It's their future, and you want the world to kind of exist in the future and for everything to be good. In other news, economic news, as Ben, you alluded to earlier in the episode, the MAGAs, all these Republicans, all these right-wing influencers, Donald Trump. There was a day earlier in the week when we did our last episode on Monday where the stock market went down for one day. And guess what? The stock market goes down, the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, the stock market goes up. But over the past few years, the stock market has went substantially up to the point where people's 401ks are probably more than double where they were now, at least from when President Biden took office. I mean, Donald Trump completely crashed the economy. And you see Donald Trump and you see all of his various acolytes on social media and in the halls of Congress trying to do whatever they can to destroy the economy and try to tank the stock market. I just want you to think about that for a second, that they want to do harm to the stock market. They want to do harm to your retirement to help their own futures. But guess what? It turned out all their plans went to crap, because just a couple days later, guess what? The stock market keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. There's been more positive economic news that the markets are rallying on. Weekly initial jobless claims fell more than forecast. It was a very reassuring update to everybody who was spreading all this. Maybe not the people who are spreading the panic, but maybe the people who they made panic. A reassuring update on the health of the U.S. labor market. The U.S. government data showed there were 233K initial jobless claims in the last week. That was down from the previous week, and it was fewer than what economists had expected. The Dow increased today alone 673 points on the news. The S&P 500 increased 113.9 points on the news. NASDAQ 434, and the S&P 500 today had its best day since 2022. Also mortgage rates fell to their lowest level in more than a year. So that's pretty good for the standard 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So I know a lot of people, potential home buyers, are going to be feeling relief in that aspect. And that's why it's always, let's look at the bigger picture, right? We need people who are focused on the long-term growth of the country, what's actually best for people, and not people who are trying to burn it all down. And time after time, the contrast has never been clearer. Right now, you see Donald Trump and MAGA, their only strategy is spread doom, spread fear, try to make you upset, try to make you feel helpless. And for too long, I think people were feeling very helpless. And I get it. I completely understand. But since Kamala Harris has taken over in the Democratic nomination, and since Tim Walz came, there's a new wave of optimism. There's a new wave of hope. And that hope is honestly what we need to defeat this doom and gloom for MAGA. And we see that hope actually now is starting to match the reality that things have been good. Things have been quite good. President Biden has been a good president who has gotten things done. And the interesting thing now is also you're seeing President Biden's approval rating start to spike now that people are acknowledging his accomplishments, and now that people are happy with Kamala Harris being the nominee going forward. And so, yeah, I think, we got good times ahead. But I want to say this also about, we see all these good polls, right? And I know there are a lot of people who are also like, let's ignore them. Let's act like, I don't want to even think about them. I think it's okay to be happy about positive movement. Like, I think we deserve it. I think we deserve to feel a bit of joy. Okay. So don't feel like you need to be upset all the time and ignore this stuff, because it's good. Now, that doesn't mean you get complacent, but you could feel the joy and you could use that hopeful energy to continue to mobilize people, get out there and vote, make sure you're registered to vote, make sure your friends and family are registered to vote, and make sure that people are seeing all of this. Because as we've seen, the more people see the contrast of these two campaigns, the more they choose democracy. And so much of that is going to rely on you. Ben.
Look, Brett, in the past 48 hours, the Midas Touch YouTube channel once again hitting about 26 million views. More people watching the Midas Touch Network than corporate media. More people watching the Midas Touch Network on YouTube and digital than Fox, than CNN and MSNBC. And we are almost at 3 million subscribers. We're adding about 15,000 new subscribers every single day, thanks to you. So one of the best ways you can help the growth of the Midas Touch Network is just tell one person in your life. If you want to do 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, we can be ambitious about it, but all you got to do is just tell one person, make them a subscriber. That goes a long way to grow this pro-democracy movement. It's free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, you may get our YouTube channel sent to you through the YouTube algorithm, but you may not be subscribed. So you click the subscribe button. It's free to do that. And then it'll guarantee that the Midas Touch YouTube channel is always showing up on your homepage. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Midas Touch audio podcast. Wherever you get your audio podcasts, just search Midas Touch and make sure you hit subscribe there as well. I want to give a shout out to our partner channels as well. That's one of the ways the Midas Touch Network expands. The Adam Mockler, which is our Gen Z channel. Good work, Adam Mockler. Tennessee Brando, he's crushing it as well. We've got Keith Edwards, a new channel that's been added. At the Michael Cohen Show, the Michael Cohen YouTube channel is there. The Talking Feds YouTube channel is growing. The True Crime MTN channel is growing. If you want to listen to some true crime stuff, True Crime MTN, Coalition of the Sane. So a bunch of great pro-democracy channels all partner with the Midas Touch Network. Store.midastouch.com. Get that pro-democracy merch. Wear it proud, wear it loud. 100% union made, 100% made in the USA. Check out store.midastouch.com. Get the newest pro-democracy gear. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Jordy, we'll hand it off to you.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstallenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.